Hello everyone, this is Koa 380. He's a Polynesian Pit Droid that I just finished building. Koa means brave in Hawaiian. He's a Hawaiian Pit Droid, and 380 is because it took me 380 hours to print all of his parts. You can articulate him. He's got all of his joints move. He stands on his own. He's about 1.2 meters tall, so he's life size. And then after printing all his parts, I finished all the pieces, painted them, weathered them. So if you take a look at his shoulder here, you can see that he's got a metal look underneath, and then he's got an orange on top, and then some grime in there from all the work that he's been doing. He comes with a unique spanner to help him do some repairs around the house here. He has a front chest plate that's unique. It has his name on it. It's got a restraining bolt as well as a PIR motion sensor that allows him to detect people in front of him. When he does detect people or something moving in front of him, he activates two things. His eye lights up a certain color. He can pick between thousands of different colors because he's got a NeoPixel ring inside of him, and he just randomly chooses what color it'll be, as well as making some sounds. So he can make a bunch of different sounds. He can make his own unique sounds, but he's also been quoting a lot of Star Wars movies. So he's been watching lots of Star Wars movies, and then he's picked about 30 different sayings he says at random from those movies. So I'll show you how that works. On the back of him, he's got a little power switch, so I'm just going to turn him on here and then let him activate. That's what the top of his head looks like. Alright, so right now I have him programmed so that every time he detects motion, he'll activate his light and some sounds. But I can change that in the programming so that his light comes on all the time, but sounds maybe every now and then. Okay, Koa, let's hear what you have to say.
Here goes nothing.
Okay, here goes nothing.
Never tell me the odds.
We won't tell you the odds, don't worry. Oh yeah. So his backstory is that he's from a galaxy far, far away, but ended up through a series of events coming to Earth and working at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort in Florida. But since the pandemic, he's come to live with us and maintain our tropical lanai and our yard. So he's been a lot of help. So that's Koa 380. If you want to learn more about how I built him, stick around. If not, thanks for watching. Alright everyone, for those of you that want to see some more details about how I made Koa 380, here's kind of what I did. So printed all the parts, took a long time, 380 hours. And then once the parts are done, I primed them with some putty, like filled all the holes, sanded, got that all ready. And then each of these panels, or these body parts, has about 5 to 6 layers on it. So I'll just explain quickly what the layers are all like. Once it's ready to be painted, I'll paint everything with a gloss black. Let that dry, and then put a metallic chrome silver paint over top of all the pieces. And the reason I paint it black first is because if you just put the metallic chrome over top, it doesn't shine as much as with the gloss underneath it. The gloss gives it more of a reflection. Once that's all finished, I will cover all the pieces with their final color, in this case the orange here. And actually before that, once the silver's on, I will use masking fluid. And here's the masking fluid that I used, art masking fluid. And I just paint that on every area that I want the chrome to show through. So all the wear and tear areas, kind of like in there. and, you know, like down here and whatnot. So, you know, most of the metallic's not going to even be shown, but you're not really sure where you're going to put everything yet. So that's why I covered everything with the metallic. Once the metallic's all dry and the masking fluid's dry, then I will cover it with the paint. So I just spray painted that orange. And once that's finished drying, I will rub off where all of the masking fluid was to expose the chrome underneath. So I'll just show you kind of around his hip there and down his thigh here. So that's what that looks like. And then I'm going to finish it up with some brushed paint. So that's black and some raw umber mixed in. So all the grime in there. And then wipe down where I don't want it to show. And then when that's finished, I will cover the entire thing with a matte Varathane. So I've been using Rust-Oleum for a lot of this. It's a really good product. I would recommend that brand, even though I'm not being sponsored by them. It goes on really well. Some of the extra features that I have on my Pit Droid are hardware covering. So in Canada, I couldn't get the furniture bolts and whatnot that was required, so I had to use M6 bolts. But I didn't like the ends of them, so I made these little caps that look more Star Warsy. They're chrome, alkyd chromed, and then I just popped them on. And the upper arm cable here, that's just split loom wiring cable, and it glues onto the ends of these little caps that I made, and it just pushes onto there. So that turned out really well, I think. His nameplate covers a hole in the back because there's a PIR motion sensor right here, and the hole right through to the torso as well, so the wires can go through. And that controls two things. It controls the sound and his lights. So his light is a 12 segment NeoPixel ring inside there, and there's actually a diffuser panel on here that I made. By the way, all of the things that I have here and the full tutorial I have in PDF form in the link below, so you can check that out if you want. His lens cover is this guy right here. So I made a little ring that glues this Christmas ornament part on there that I just cut. And then you can actually push this right onto there, and it snaps in so that you can always take this out if you have to fix the ring inside or have access to the inside. I'll just turn him on and you can see what he looks like, and then I'll show you the inside of this thing. So he takes about 30 seconds or so for the PIR motion sensor to warm up, but he does do a little sound check here in a second.
This isn't the droid you're looking for.
Yeah, so right now I've got him activated so that he turns on every single time there's motion, but you can alter that in the code, and I've shown how in my tutorial. So I've got it so that it's always coming on, and you can set it so that the light turns on all the time, but the sound maybe every 2 or 3 minutes, so it doesn't get too annoying. So if there's motion all the time where this droid is, you'll only make noises every now and then. So the noises are all random. It picks out of 30 different movie quotes that I've programmed into him, as well as about 5 or 6 of his regular sounds. But his eye lights up in any kind of color he wants to choose from, which are thousands of different hues. So
It's just a silly kiss of Wookiee.
just show you the back of him now. Okay, so let's
It's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap. Turn him off here. I'm going to pull the back panel off. I haven't screwed it on yet, so you can actually see what it looks like. So that's a custom back panel that I made, but you can just drill holes through the one that's provided. There's a 2-inch speaker in there with a switch. Goes to a 3D printed platform that holds on the very left is a DF Player Mini with a micro SD card, and all the sounds are in there. And in the tutorial, I show you how to put all those on and download the sketch onto that little Nano. And I've got these JST connectors that I put on there, so I can pop this panel out if I want, but you could just hardwire everything right in if you want. So the wiring for his eye goes through this extra piece that I made, and I've got that provided for you. And it goes up into this heat shrink tubing and follows along. You can have it run along the side here, but I've got it through a slot inside the detail here, and then it goes right into the NeoPixel. So that is a quick overview of what I've done. And to follow next is just some tutorials on, or just some video on how I did all of that. All right, let's take a look at the circuit that I've designed for the Pit Droid eye. First of all, here is the 3D printed platform that holds the components. It has a DF player mini in here with a micro SD card. It's got a nano, and it's got a terminal strip to hook up the power. And then everything's just kind of hardwired in. So basically, if you take this off, you can see I've just soldered wires directly onto the pins for the DF player, and same with the nano. And there's a little spot here for everything to plug into, and you can actually put a bit of CA glue to hold that down if you want. There's 3 openings down at the bottom, right there. So one can be for your PIR sensor, one can be for your speaker, and one's going to be for the NeoPixel LED setup. And then you can just screw this inside your Pit Droid, inside the torso there. And then I'm going to have a spot for a micro switch instead of just coming straight in from the power adapter. This is a 5 volt. It's important it's 5 volts because everything runs off 5 volts. This is a 1.5 amp power adapter. And I just extended the cable, so I have a really long cable. And like I said, I'll split this with a little switch for the back cover. Now, for the eye, I haven't placed everything in onto the head of my Pit Droid yet. I just wanted to show you what this is going to look like and how it functions. So I've got about 15 or 16 sound files on the micro SD card, and they're all randomly selected by the sketch on the Nano, and the Nano also controls the NeoPixel LED. So this will activate thousands of different colors and just randomly select an intensity and color for RGB. And I've put everything on connected with JST connectors. You could just hardwire it directly in, but the whole diagram's in my tutorial for you to take a look at. So let's just take a look and see how this goes. So this would actually go through the inner eye, come through here like this, and this 3D printed housing that I made has little slots here for the 3 wires, and then it just pops into there. And they're quite bright LEDs. I made this diffuser panel. I just cut a dollar store chopping block out and just fastened it in there, and I've got the STL files for all this. So it diffuses the light a little bit. You can use something other than the chopping block. You can use something that's a little bit more opaque so that the single LEDs don't show through. But I'll show you both of the versions, see what you think of that. And then this plugs into the back of this. You can actually swap this out right now. You can take this out this way and keep this mounted into your head if you want. And then I also have, let me just throw this back in here. So this just covers up that spot there. And then what I've done is I've taken the lens, which I made out of one of these Christmas ball ornaments. I just cut it, and I made a sleeve for it so that it's glued, CA glued into that. And this can pop right into here, and you can remove it whenever you need to. So that's the setup. I'm just going to plug this in and just show you how this works. So pop that into there, and then I'll just plug my AC adapter in. You might hear a little confirmation tone on here sometimes. And then you have to give it about 30 seconds to 40 seconds for the PIR sensor to warm up and activate. So there's just a little confirmation there that things are powering up properly. And now I've got it set so that the sound comes on every single time there's motion detected and the LEDs come on. But in the actual sketch that I use, I only have the sound come on every now and then, but the LED comes on all the time. So once it's ready to go, every time it sees motion here, this will activate a random color and the sound will turn on. So it's just picking RGB intensity from 0 to 255, and it'll just pick a color and blend the colors together in different hues. And that's all changeable in the code. So that's how my setup works. Like I said, you just mount this inside your Pit Droid's torso, run the wires all through. There's a spot on the chest plate for this. And then you can put whatever sound files you want on there. All right, thanks. My Pit Droid's name is Koa, and he's been around humans a lot and has picked up on quite a few English words and quotes, mostly from his favorite movies. So if a Pit Droid could talk, I think this is what he would sound like.
I just as soon kiss a Wookiee. Laugh it up, fuzzball. This isn't the droid you're looking for.
All right, here's a little bit of how I've been doing the weathering on these parts. So this piece here has been sanded, primered, puttied, cleaned up, and then a gloss black over it. Once that was dry, I put the metallic spray paint on it. Once that was dry, I put some masking fluid in areas where I wanted the metal to show through, the worn out look. And then once that was dry, I painted it all the right color. So this one obviously is orange. Once that's finished, I peel off the masking fluid. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to age the paint a little bit. So what I've got is I've got some raw sienna, and I've got just some black. This is acrylic paint, and I'm just mixing it together here, getting kind of a dark brown blackish color, and then just go in and hit the crevices where dirt would probably accumulate. And then I put some on the metal parts as well, just to darken them up a little bit. Alright, so once we have that in there, we're just going to take a rag, we're going to wipe it. And it gives you a nice aged look to the paint. And you can always take some more off, just wet the rag a little bit, because this is acrylic paint. And that's what I'll be doing on most of these finished parts. So I've got that one done. I've got part of that one finished. And I'll move along to all of the rest. You can see a little bit in there. I got some brown in there because this is like a yellowish color. I got some brown. I'll add some black as well. And once that's finished, I'll hit it with a coat of matte varathane and then assemble. Well, you made it to the end of this video. Thanks for joining me on this little adventure. This is the first Pit Droid I've made. I've certainly learned a lot. If you're interested in making something like this, I'd highly recommend it. The files are really good. You got this.